What's going on, everyone? Hope everyone's good. I want to do a quick little review, a very honest review of the new DJI FPV drone Fly More system. I am a drone pilot for many years. I started off with the Phantom. Here's me flying in Cambodia. These kids have never seen anything other than a bird fly. It was kind of amazing. So I've been doing this for a really long time. I have flown pretty much on every continent on the planet with various degrees of success. So if you're a drone pilot, operator, and are used to flying cinema drones like the MAVIC, I think that this review is going to help answer a few questions that I definitely had when I bought this little guy. So the first thing is, it's not that little. They're pretty big. I have covered drone racing before. There's a link to that down below. And this is a pretty big, beefy boy for an FPV drone. It's also ridiculously heavy. This can really hurt someone. The FPV drones that I'm used to seeing are extremely light and extremely small and almost disposable. They're, I wouldn't say meant to crash into things, but you're not gonna have like a heart attack if you do. My first impression is that this thing, I'm scared to fly it because the type of flying that I want to do with FPV, meaning, you know, extremely fast, close to objects, through objects, doesn't really lend itself to the size and the weight of this drone. This feels much more substantial. It feels like there's a lot of tech going on there, and it is by far definitely much more expensive than some of the other little FPV drones that you can buy for $100 to get started. So overall, I would say, yeah, get a smaller drone, get something less expensive to play with and break, because you're gonna fly it into something. It's just the way the game's played. The nice thing about DJI, obviously, is that it works right out of the box. It's a lot of good tech. It's very robust. It works pretty well right out of the box. I did have a problem linking it to my phone. I've done a video about that as well if you need to see how to fix that problem. But what's great about it is that it does rely on GPS, which helps you learn better how to fly an FPV drone, for sure. Because if you've used a simulator, which I've done by downloading something on Steam, you'll realize right away that, you know, FPV drones have to move forward. They're like sharks. So this doesn't actually have to do that. This will hover in space, which is great. It allows you to plan your shots a little bit better. It allows you to take a breath, figure out what your plan of action is, and you're not constantly trying to keep it up and afloat. It does have that mode available, which you can build up to. So in a way, it's a great drone to start learning how to fly FPV on. That being said, it is big, bulky, and it's extremely fast if you let it be. So the potential of running this into something is definitely there. I typically don't buy insurance policies on my drones because I've been flying long enough to know, you know, how not to crash. With this, I would say it's almost a must. I wouldn't even risk, you know, taking this up in the air without knowing that if something does happen to it, I can get a replacement. The second thing is, you know, the image quality is great. It's not the same as like a MAVIC. It's not buttery smooth. It's a one-axis gimbal, which is still fantastic, but you're definitely going to see more camera shake and movement and jerkiness. That cinema quality is much better obtained by a MAVIC than by an FPV. That being said, there are shots and styles that you can get with this drone that you can't get with a MAVIC. Mainly flying into tight spaces, doing extreme climbs and dips, or following objects at high speed. I think that that's what this is mainly good for. You're going to get much more exciting shots, much more dynamic shots with this, even though you're losing a little bit of the quality of like the smooth cinema-ness of a MAVIC, say, or Inspire. That said, there's a learning curve to flying these guys. I definitely think the more you use it, the better. One thing I will say is that with my MAVIC, I can take it up in a very small space. I can launch it out of the back of a car. I can fly it through a window with a lot of security knowing that I'm going to be able to pilot it safely at a distance. I think for this, you really do need a little bit of a space to practice in. You need big open area if you really want to let her open up and see how she handles at speed, because that's what you're going to be doing probably out in the open. So in urban settings, unless you've practiced a lot, I think that this isn't the best little flying machine for that application. I would much rather be in some park or some wilderness area where there are no people, just so that I can feel secure going fast and not worry about running into something or getting myself in a position where I'm going to crash and either hurt the drone or hurt someone in the process. The other thing is that wearing goggles is very strange. It's always nice to be able to see a screen and then also to visually see where the drone is and plan your shots that way. I've never had a problem navigating. I feel like I understand where 3D space is when I'm flying my MAVIC. With this, I have no idea about 3D space. You almost have tunnel vision of where you're heading directly to, but your left, right, up and down and behind is blind. Whereas with a MAVIC, I can maneuver between objects and still get the shot. The shot has to be in front of me and I can only travel in that direction. What's even stranger perhaps is that you're no longer in the world. You're in this goggle world. So depending on where you fly, people could screw with you real easy. It's weird enough to fly a drone out in public and people obviously want to talk to you or look at your screen or ask you questions, like that's normal. But wearing the goggles, blinded, you don't even know who's around you, you can't look at your stuff, you kind of almost need a spotter to be flying with you the whole time. I don't know if I thought about that before I bought the drone and realized the application, but I really wanted to get some of these more dynamic, fast shots that I just couldn't get with the MAVIC, and thought that this little guy would be able to do it for me. I'm shooting a motorcycle commercial later this month, so that'll be the first real test run for this little guy. I think it's gonna do great. I think we're gonna get some really cool stuff, but versatility-wise, other than doing something on a set or closed application like that, I don't see it being as versatile as my MAVIC, and bringing it around the world. I'd much rather have that in hand. They're about the same size, I would say, when everything is put together. I will say that for the price, the noise that this makes when it turns on is worth every penny, because it sounds like it's gonna kill you. I hope if you got one, you're enjoying it. I'd love to know what your reactions are to it, especially if you fly a MAVIC and have been for a while. And yeah, good luck with it. Don't crash it into a tree. Happy flying.